Hi neighbor, Alicia Dolan here at Creating in My Corner. I'm so glad that you're joining me tonight for another Stampin' Sunday video. We are going through the Christmas in July series, and so I have two Christmas cards for you tonight. If you're going to stamp along, you're going to need some cardstock, stamp set, some ink, and tonight we're using basic white and some vellum. So if you would like to stamp along with me, I'm also going to be using the same stamp set I used last week. So it's called Ringed with Nature. It looks like this, And I'm also going to be using the Grassy Grove stamp set and bundle, along with some other punches and die cuts, but I will tell you about those as we go. So I'm just gonna hold on 1 second and make sure that this is live and that I don't see any comments. And I don't yet. Hold on, I'm just moving. Somehow the little tabs on my computer are all askew, so I have no idea what where I'm looking. Okay, and I want to make sure I'm looking at you, so I don't look like I'm staring off into space. Okay, we have two cards. Like I said, we have two cards to go through tonight. Now, if you want to place an order to get the kit to make these cards for free, you would get everything you need to make two of each of the cards if you place a $25 order through Stampin' Up and use my host code. And it's posted over in the description. And if you have any questions about that, just send me a message and I am happy to answer your questions. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get started. Give me just a moment. All right, I think that you can see my space now. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, if you can't see anything, then just let me know. And I'm going to be watching for the comments, but I don't always see them. Okay, so I have two cards for you tonight, and they're both case cards. So I can show you part of the first one. I actually tore it apart because I wasn't happy with, I wasn't totally happy with the way it looked. So we're going to make this card, but we're going to do something a little bit different with it. And the next card, this is the card that I got at a swap tonight from my friend Anne. And we're going to case this card, but we are going to turn it into a Christmas card. So stick with me and we will get it done. Okay, so for the first one, this is a card we made tonight at a team meeting. It's a swap card. So this one is going to be cased from Michelle Litwiller. So that's our first card. So what we need first is this is a piece of basic gray, a piece of cardstock, and you're going to cut it in half. I can show you what it looked like before. So we're going to cut it in half at 5.5 so that we have a piece that's 5.5 by 8.5. And then what we're going to do is, I'm going to get my ruler out. We're going to score our piece of cardstock at 2 3/4 and 7. So now if you're signed up for my email list, you will get an email this week with all of these measurements. Okay, so 2 3/4, we're gonna make a score mark. And then again at 7. Okay, and we're gonna fold those lines in, fold those pieces in, and we're gonna press those down with our bone folder. Just like that. Just like that. And you could make this card so that it opens any direction. It could open this way. It can open this way. It could open this way. So there's lots of different options, but for tonight, we're going to make it go this direction. Okay. And now I have 2 pieces of cherry cobbler, and one is cut. Hold on, I can tell you. 2.5 by 5 1/4. Okay, and that one's going to go on this side. And the next one is 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. And that one's going to go on this side. And now I have some pieces of designer series paper. And this is from the Earthen Elegance pack. So this is actually the other side of that piece of paper. I can pull a couple out and just show you. These are really interesting patterns. So there's this one. There's this one that looks like a moody mauve color. There's some Night of Navy in there. Pebbled Path. I really love this color. This is my favorite. There's 2 different ones that have this color on the back. And I think that might be my favorite color in here. And then this one kind of reminds me of cake. I don't know why, but that looks like cake with frosting to me. Maybe carrot cake, or I don't know. But now I'm going to get hungry talking about food. But then the back of this one is really cool too. Kind of looks like muted colors of raindrops. But I really like that. So, okay, and that's where this paper came from. Now, this designer series paper is cut 2 1/4 by 5. That one's going to go on this side. And this one is 1 inch by 5. And that's going to go on this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will put that together before we start the next part. So we're just going to turn that over. And hopefully my liquid glue will work tonight. I was having a little trouble with it earlier. Did not want to come out. But it looks like, I think the end was plugged. So I tried to clean it out and hopefully I got it good. Okay, so we're just going to glue this right in the middle. And you know, I love that liquid glue because we can kind of scoot our pieces around a little bit. Okay, so here is the first one. I'm really excited to be doing these Christmas in July cards because I always feel like, and I said it today, there is so much time until Christmas. I've got plenty of time. But I think we all know that time goes by so much faster than you think it's going to. You think you have all the time in the world. And this is true, not just about Christmas, but about life in general. Sometimes I feel like I have all the time in the world, but then before I know it, the time is sneaking up on me. Okay, so we're going to put on our liquid glue. Just like that. And once again, we're going to put that right in the middle. All right, hold on a second. I've got to get a drink of water. All of a sudden, my voice is a little funny. So hold on. I'll be right back. I have little bottles of water stashed all over the basement because you never know when you're going to get thirsty. All right, that feels better. Okay, so now we're going to turn this piece over and we're going to put our glue on the back of this one. And we always do a thin line around the edge, just like that. Leave a space for your finger and then a squiggle down the middle. I feel like I haven't said that as much lately as I used to. Okay, and then we're going to stick that right on the side. Okay, now that's the outside of our card. And then we're going to start the next part. So what we're going to do is I've got some basic white here. I'm going to set this on the side for a second. Okay, and I need my Stampin' Pierce mat. You can see that I still have some little stamping from last week on there. And we're going to use a 2-inch circle punch. Now, we only have a couple sizes of circle punch. There's 2 and 2 3/8 and 1 3/4. So I think those are the only 3 sizes that Stampin' Up! Carries right now. All right, and then I want to take this flower right here and put that on next. So I've already put it on a block, and this is block B. And I'm going to stamp that in Cherry Cobbler. So, okay, and I'm going to practice stamp. You know, I like to do that, especially with my photopolymer stamps. Make sure that my images are going to be nice and clear. And I'm going to put that, let's see, am I going to put it right in the center? Yes, I believe I am. Okay, so I'm going to stamp that flower. Yeah, I think it's a poinsettia. Poinsettia. I don't know exactly how you say that, but if you are watching tonight and you could like or share this video, I would really appreciate it. That helps me gain a little bigger audience. Okay, and we're going to stamp the tiny center, but I'm going to get a little smaller block for that. So I'm just going to use this block A. Right. And this time we're going to use the Pretty Peak. Are we going to use Pretty Peacock? I think what we will do is emboss this little flower a bit. So what we need is our Versamark ink. our gold embossing powder. And our little embossing kit that we used last time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take this embossing buddy out of its little bag. And I'm just going to tap it gently all around my stamped image. And what the embossing buddy does is there's kind of a really fine powder inside there. And what that does is help the embossing powder not to stick where we don't want it to be. Let's see, this is stays on. We don't want that. I grabbed the wrong ink pen. Okay, so we're going to take our Versamark and we're just going to tap our little flower center in there. And then we're going to tap it on our flower. And we're going to sprinkle this gold embossing powder right over it. Now, I usually put an extra sheet of paper underneath there, but we're only going to use a tiny bit of our embossing powder, and hopefully we can keep it kind of where it belongs. Okay, so then we're going to give it a flick. And I always flick it a little harder off to the side because I don't want that gold embossing powder all over my table. It will get in everything. And not just the gold, but any color of embossing powder will do that. Okay, and I know we embossed last week too. I think embossing always seems like a better idea to me at Christmas time. I don't know why. All right, I'm going to turn off the sound for just a moment while I use the heat tool to set this. Okay, and now you can see how pretty that is with that little bit of gold embossing in there. I'm going to leave that tool out because I think we might emboss our sentiment too. That'll add a little something special to our card for sure. Okay, so here is our stamped image. And I'm going to close up my Versamark just for a second because we're probably going to use that again, but not right away. And see, I don't have another scrap of cherry cobbler that's light enough. So I'm going to grab another piece over here. Cherry cobbler is really one of my favorite colors for Christmas. And then we're going to use, this is called the decorative circle punch. So we're going to use that. And you can see that this is just a bit larger than the 2-inch circle punch. Okay, so there we have that. Now we need a little strip of white that we can stamp our Merry Christmas on. Okay. And this is a 1/2-inch strip. I'm going to get a skinnier block. I found that if you use a block that's closer to the size of the stamp you're going to use, you won't have as much trouble rocking it. And what that means is when you go to stamp down, if you rock your block, that sounds a little funny, but if you rock your block, you will not get a clear image. It'll be fuzzy. And I like most of the time for my image to be pretty clear. Okay, and so we're going to emboss again. And this time we're just going to tap our sentiment on the Versamark pad. Okay, and then we can stamp right on our piece of basic white. Okay, and now, see, you can't see it at all, but I know it's there because when I pressed it down and peeled it up, it made a little peeling noise. And this time I am going to need a piece of paper. So I'm going to bring this back over and grab a little scrap that I have off to the side. I forgot to use my embossing buddy, so hopefully this one will come out all right, even though I didn't do it. And we have to tap our embossing powder all over that spot where we stamped. And now I know it's hard to see, so what we're going to do is tip it up and tap it a little bit. Okay, and now you can see where that embossing powder is sticking right to it. And I'm going to pull it off to the side and I'm going to give it a flick so that the little extra bits fall off. Okay, and now we're going to emboss this part. So I'm going to turn the sound off again. Okay, and there's our sentiment. See how pretty that is with that gold? All right, and I don't see any comments yet, so I can't, and it looks like maybe only one person is watching. And someone told me earlier that if it's only one person, then it's really just me watching. I was a little sad to hear that, first of all, because I thought there was always at least one person watching me. But then I guess it makes sense, right? It's a beautiful day outside. So I can totally see why you would want to be out there instead of in here. All right, so here is our card. And we're going to put it together like this. And so what I want to do next is cut a little piece of thread that can go around this little sentiment. I really like to layer things. I'm sure that you can tell that's the case. All right, and so this is a 1/2 inch. So we're going to cut our next piece of cherry cobbler at 5/8 because I just want just a little bit of an edge around it. Okay, and then we can give that a little chop. Okay, now what we're going to do is turn our sentiment over and put a little glue along the back. Okay, this time we're not following our actual real pattern because it's such a small piece. We're just going to try and get little squiggles everywhere. And then we turn it over. We can line up this edge so that it's about the same all the way around. And then we'll just press it down. That's in the center. And because this end is already trimmed at an angle, we're going to do the same thing with the cherry cobbler. We'll just kind of follow that edge and trim it just like that so that it matches. All right, and now you can put whatever you want to on the inside. We're not going to decorate the inside tonight, just the outside. But it would be a standard size. So if you wanted to put a piece of white in there, it would just be a piece that's 4 1/4 by, 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, let's put our flower on its backing. Okay. And we're just going to glue that right in the center. And we'll kind of have to press it down a little bit because when we emboss, sometimes it does make our paper curl just a little bit. So you kind of have to give it a little extra press. All right. And there is our flower. And we're going to put it on here just like this. And then we're going to add our sentiment so that it goes. Right. So we're going to turn this over. And grab a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh, I got to double check which side is which. Okay. Because I want it to overlap just a little bit. I don't want those dimensionals to be on both sides of my piece of paper. All right, so then actually we need our ribbon first. I almost forgot. Okay, so we're gonna take, this is the same ribbon that we used last week. So I kind of wanted to show you a couple different things you can do with the same supplies so that you could order a bolt of ribbon and use it up. Too many times I think we order something for one project and then don't use it again. And it's, we save it and we need to be using it up and sending it out so that it brings joy where it's going. I think that's important. All right. Now, for some reason this time, my bow is upside down. But I used to always tie bows upside down, and I haven't been doing that lately, but this one is kind of giving me a little, it's causing a little problem here. Okay. So there's our ribbon. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. Because whoever gets the card is not going to complain about the ribbon, I'm sure. And if they do, I'm probably not going to send them another card that I worked so hard on. Okay, so here is our bow. And I kind of wanted it to be close to the middle. All right, so now . let's see. I want to get my dimensionals kind of in between there, so they're not stuck on my ribbon, so it can move. Yep. Okay. So there is our card. And we're going to add this Merry Christmas. Now, again, you don't want to glue this down on the right-hand side. You want to keep it on this side over here. So I think what we'll do, I like it up here a little bit. So I'm going to put my dimensionals up here. And I'm just going to use some small ones. All right, so I've got some mini dimensionals right here. And I'm going to put them closer to the left-hand side because, again, I don't want that right-hand side to be closed. Okay, so there is that, and there is our first card. So let's add, because I just saw them out and I think they'll be perfect. Here are some brushed gold dots, gold metallic dots. And these, again, we did use these last week too. All right, so let's add a few of those. I had a little smudge right there. I had to cover up. I don't know if you could see that in the video or not, but it was driving me nuts. All right. Two. I can't decide where this third one should go. Let's put it right over here. Okay, so here is our first card for tonight. And so then when you open it, all you have to do is untie that little bow and open it up. So I think that turned out perfect for Christmas. And if you don't like the bow there, you could always, you could leave it off, or you could tie it up higher or down low. It just kind of helps the card stay closed. Okay. So now we're going to move on to casing the card from Anne, my friend Anne. And I don't know exactly how to say her last name, but I think it's Eurodot. That's how it's spelled. I'm sure that's the wrong way to say it. But that's her name. I want to give her credit for designing the card. All right, I'm just going to put these stamps away real quick and we will get started on the next one. I'm just going to swipe all this off to the side and I'll get up in a few moments. Okay, and I'm going to set this up here by Mortimer. So if you want to take another peek at it, it's right there in the corner. Okay, next, the card we are going to case is this one right here. And we're going to turn this into a birthday card. So first we're going to need a piece of basic white that is 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to score that at 4 1/4. So we're doing the same card bases tonight. Well, the same base and then different measurements. Okay. Did I score that at 4 1/4? Yes, I did. Okay. We're going to fold that in half. And our next layer is going to be a vellum layer. So we're going to take a piece of vellum, and it looks like this. Now, if you haven't used vellum before, it's thinner, and you can kind of see through it. So you have to be a little more careful with vellum if you're scoring it. But tonight we're just going to cut a piece. So we're going to cut this at 4 by 5 1/4. I'm not sure why it took me so long to figure that out, but I did tonight. Okay, so there's 4. And here's, it's already cut at 5 1/4. So that is going to be the next layer. And then we're going to go a little bit short, we're going to make ours a tiny bit different than hers. Okay, so that's going to be our first layer. Our next one, we need some Night of Navy. And this one is going to be three and a half by 4 3/4. Okay, so there's 3 1/2, 4 3/4. Oh, it's already cut at 4 3/4. Okay, so we're gonna have a little more space in our card than the one that we cased, but that's okay. When you're casing a card, you can change things and make it your own. Okay, and then our next piece of basic white is gonna be, and I say that was 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. It's gonna be 4 5/8 by 3 3/8. Okay, so that's going to be our next layer on top of there. Just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take our top piece of white, and this is the one we're going to do our stamping on. Now, if you have some little Post-it notes, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next is line up our Post-it notes here along the edge. I'm going to have to move this up a little bit so I can see my grid lines underneath. And we're going to line it up about 1/4 of an inch in along the side and 1/4 of an inch along the bottom. Okay, and now we are going to take our blender brush and some Night of Navy ink, and we're going to swirl this ink on here so that it looks similar to this. And when we do this, we're just going to open up our ink pad and we're going to swirl our brush around a little bit, and then we're going to swirl it onto the card. But you always want to start off your card and then swirl on. Otherwise, you might get a big blob of color in one spot. Unless you're looking for, if you want a big blob, then you would do it the other way. All right, so we're starting off the edge and we're swirling on. And it kind of takes a lot to get a dark image. So we're just going to keep up swirling. And I'm going to try to move kind of quick, but that's the thing I don't generally do well. Okay, and so we're just swirling, kind of making it look like nighttime a little bit. Now, in this process, you will use up some of your ink. So you might want to make sure that if you're going to do a lot of blending with blending brushes and ink, that you have the refills to refill your ink pads. And I don't think we're going to put any birds in ours just because I I don't know that they might not look like bats. And I don't want bats. Not that I don't like bats, but I don't want them in my picture. And we don't see as many birds in the winter. I know there are still some. Maybe I'll put a few in there, but maybe not. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'll just stick with a little deer this time. Okay, now I think that's enough color. So I'm going to put my blending brush back and close up my Light of Navy ink. And now when we peel up our Post-it notes, we have nice, oh, I got a little carried away there in the corner. Hopefully no one will notice that. I'll have to cover that up, maybe with a bird or something. Okay. And now we're going to take our Grassy Grove stamps. And first we're going to stamp these squiggly pine trees. And let's see. I think they'll fit right on this block. This is the block H. I really like this block and block D. Those are probably the two that I use most often. Okay, and so, oh, that's not what I meant to grab. And now I'm gonna add some Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I'm just gonna tap it on there. I can't remember if this is the one I was gonna fill up the last time I was stamping or if it was the other one. Okay, and now I'm just gonna stamp these little trees here off to the side. And then I'll stamp a little bit of those grasses over here. But I don't want there to be too much because we're thinking winter timey, right? Oh, I should, hold on. I got one, I'm gonna get one of my Post-it notes back out so that I don't go over the edge there. Okay, and then we're going to use this big one here because this has, I I think, more brush in it, and the other one has more flowers. So this time I'm going to need block I because we need a nice wide surface here. And we'll just tap along here, kind of along the top. We don't need too much vegetation because we're thinking winter time. So I'll just stamp that along the side here. Oh, and we didn't get much at all, but there's a little bit there. In fact, well, no, you can't do that. Sometimes I'm thinking while I'm stamping. So if you hear me talking, but not very loudly, I'm probably just commenting to myself. And you might not want to hear it anyway. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm not always the kindest to as kind to myself as I should be. So I am working on changing that. All right, now we can start putting this card together. So let's attach this first. So first we're going to put our piece of vellum on. And for that, we're going to use Stampin' Seal. I don't use Stampin' Seal a whole lot, but I know that it works well for vellum. So when I use Stampin' Seal, I try to hold it straight down and run it to the side and then tip it back a little bit when I get to the end. I found that that's the best way for me to use it and not get it all twisted up. Because it's on a little runner inside there, at first I had a really hard time just making it go straight. I know it's my own issue, but I have a hard time making things go straight. Okay, so here is our piece of vellum. And that's going to be our first layer. Now, I did get a little piece of something in there, but that's going to be covered up, so we don't have to worry about that too much. I just noticed too that I probably should have put a post-it note on this side too, but I didn't do that. All right, so we're going to turn this over, our stamped image, and we can put our liquid glue on, a thin line around the edge. We're going to watch out for our finger and then put a squiggle down the middle. Okay, and we're going to glue that right in the center. And remember that we made this frame a little bit smaller than we normally would. So there is our next layer. We're just going to turn that over and add some Stampin' Dimensionals. And once again, we're at the end, so we're just going to cut these edge pieces off so we can use those. You always want to use up all your pieces, even the edges. Okay, so there's that. We can peel off all the little backs. And then we can stick that right in the middle. Just like that. Okay, now next we are going to cut out these little deer. So over here, I have a little pile of scraps that are black cardstock, that basic black. And in the Grassy Grove dies, there are some little deer. There's actually 3 little deer, but we're just going to use 2. I can get them off where they belong. Okay. There are those. So I'm going to cut those out using the stamp Big Shot, but if you have a Stampin' Cut and emboss machine, you'll use that. So they go this way, so flat side up on a clear plate, and then another plate's going to go on top so that we can run them through. All right, and now we take them out. We're going to need our little poker tool because they kind of got stuck in there a little bit. Okay, here's one. You do have to be a little bit careful poking them out because sometimes I have not been careful and I have poked a hole all the way through the die. So that's definitely something you don't want to do. Because then you have to go back and cut another one. And who wants to do that? Okay. So here are our little deer. And we're going to put this one down flat. So I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue. And we'll put Bambi's mom right here. And then this one, we're going to use some dimensionals. So I'm just going to cut out some of these skinny ones here on the edge. I actually already cut them in half for something else. So that's why they look a little extra skinny. But the other thing we could do is we could cut out this deer from a foam sheet. And then the whole deer would be kind of popped up. Okay, so here are our little deer. And again, we're going to use the same Merry Christmas that we used before. So that would be the Merry Christmas from the Rain with Nature stamp set. I really like the style of that Merry Christmas. And so I think that's probably why I've been using it a lot. Plus, it's the only stamp set I have right now that has a current Christmas stamp. But I am working to change that very soon. All right. Now we're just gonna stamp our Merry Christmas. Oh, did I? I hope I didn't get my head in it. Oh, well, let's see. I feel like that's a little bit crooked, so let me turn it over and try one more time. I'm a little finicky, and I don't really like it when my stamping is crooked. All right. Well, that's a little better, I think. Well, I guess it looks about like my other one. So maybe just my eyes are crooked tonight. I don't know. Okay. Now we need a little piece of black that can go behind here. I'm trying to look and see if I have any really kind of skinny ones, but I don't think I do. Have to be just wider than what I'm using. All right. So we're going to need to cut this, and we know that's a 1/2 inch. So this time, let's cut it at 3/4. Okay. And we're just going to trim off the end here. This time we'll try and trim it straight. Might be a little crooked, but that's all right. I'll put a little glue on the back. And then we can center that on our piece of black cardstock and our basic black. And get a trim just like this. Now, another thing we could have done that we are not going to do is we could have put a little white embossing powder along those trees and maybe it made it look a bit like snow. All right, next we're gonna take, this is our, what is it called? Gold and silver trim, I think. And we're just gonna wind it around a couple of times. Well, it's kind of swirly. And we're gonna use a glue dot to stick it to our card. So first, I'm just gonna stick it right on that glue dot. So that we can peel it up. Kind of tuck it together a little bit. And then we can put it right up here. And I might have needed a little dot. Let's try to stick another dot in there. Oh, I ran out. I'm sure that one's not that long. Okay. So when we put this over top, we'll just try and make sure we get it. Stuck a little bit to that ribbon. So now I'm just using up some of the rest of those on the side and dimensionals. All right, so there is our next Christmas card. I think it needs a few gems. Ah, here they are. It took me a lot longer to find those. They were almost all the way at the back. I do have some brand new ones here around the corner, but um, I wasn't ready to bust them open yet. All right, so let's take, these are the Rhinestone Basic Jewels. And I'm just going to take a few and pop them here in the sky, kind of like stars. Okay. So there is our second Christmas card for tonight. So both cards we kind of cased from other cards, but I think they turned out really nice. So here is the first one, and here is the second one. I hope that you get a chance to make some Christmas cards this week. And remember that if you case last week's card, I will put you in the drawing for a prize that I will be sending out after the end of this month. I hope that you're all having a great night. Happy stamping.